Yes, maybe just a tiny extra thing about, well, it's always left-hand technique, really. Nowadays I use very much, I already said that, but I repeat that I'm getting more and more into using all four fingers. I think it was the old English school, but especially in transcriptions from other instruments, you know, it's very useful to have under control 1 tone and a half. So I mean, sometimes I do use extensions nowadays, like ordinary position. That helps a lot. And we talked about that also on the fact that I might use the fourth finger at the thumb position. So even they sound so, it's so easy, so much more relaxing for the end. And in some, there was just a passage I showed to Tom in Brahms Sonata. Let's try again. You see, I thought a lot about that. Being a transcription from the cello, of course, the fact that I use sometimes the fourth finger, it helps a lot that passage, in my opinion, you know what I mean? So you don't have to make too many movements in a point where actually the less you move and the better it is, probably, you know. So that was just a little extra thing. But we can join also with an approach to vibrato. Now, the approach to vibrato, in my opinion, it starts from the approach to the position of the hand. Like when I said that for the bow, I think to the sort of natural resting position of the arm, and I put the bow inside. A little bit I do the same with the left hand, you see. The left hand, it's in repose. Now, if I possibly could keep this resting position as much as I can, it means that I do less effort. One thing to be really careful is not to lift, for us playing double bass, to lift too much this shoulder, because many times you don't realize, but when you play, somebody does this. Talking with some physiotherapists, we saw that, I mean, practically it's impossible to avoid it 100%. But lots of work it can be done trying to avoid, to pull up the arm, but without lifting too much the shoulder, and that it becomes a position much more healthy for your body, because it doesn't make your spine to stay crooked, you know. So if this, going back, this is resting natural position. I go up the fingerboard. And I try as much as, that's my approach, as much as I can on the double bass to keep a certain 90 degrees position of the finger. If you see, I try and help a little bit the fourth one as well. But what really makes me feel comfortable is to have the first one that acts like in capotasto, we say in Italy, you know, like a sort of real strong reference point. Something that I often do. To improve the strength of the third and fourth finger. And also another type of exercise that I make often is to sort of make sure I'm making only the finger I need to move, to make independent the fingers. So I keep these fingers sort of on the fingerboard, and I try because it would be too easy, you know, to do like that. I mean, I would be helped by the other nerves. Now the next one is the trickiest, the second third. Yes, but that's the weakest one, we know. So you see, I find that maybe in a more comfortable position. Ecco, now I feel comfortable. Yeah, that's easier. You see, the third one will never lift as much as the others because we know for how the way it's connected to the hand, but enough to use it with a fairly good articulation. You see. Ecco. And also when I go to thumb, maybe. Aspetta. This is tricky. And even if I'll use it rarely, the fourth, but if the hand is well positioned to be able to use the fourth, means that when you use the first three, it will be very easy. So if I can get as far as there, when I'm here, it's like it's much easier. You see, the warming up, it gets better and better. Yeah, because the articulation of the third is always the first one that the more subject to forget how to work, as we can say. And yeah, that's about vibrato. So because I keep the fingers fairly perpendicular to the fingerboard, means that I need not much movement to be already very efficient. And I think in any case of a movement, a sort of oscillation, but with a focus note, as I can say. I think one of the most frequent mistakes with vibrato is that sometimes you miss, when you hear some types of vibrato, you miss the real notes. So, I mean, it's strange to say, but better. You see, here I can't hear. And I think it has to do with some loss of tension on the fingerboard. So we vibrate, but we shouldn't miss a good contact of the string with the fingerboard. You see, if the hand is too weak, I hear just the vibrato, but I miss the note. That's clear now. You see, you hear mainly, that's clear. I'm just thinking, you know, a little bit to augment the pressure on the fingerboard. The exercise for vibrato, what I think here is another thing that should be able to control, from slow to fast, and decide when and if to put. Because many times you shouldn't vibrate in some notes, you know. It's wrong to think that you have always to vibrate, always the mic. No, you must be able to do it, but you must decide following what music asks you, because you can, it's quite clear when a no vibrato is helpful to the matter. Anyway, I think a good exercise is always to go, usually to go slow and fast, it's easy. So this is easy. The difficult thing is in the middle, to sort of join them. Ecco, and when you go back, what will happen at the beginning, I think, if you try and practice this way, is that you'll feel like that, and you go faster. Then at some point you'll feel like a click, and all of a sudden you lose control of the hand. So practicing, you know, this step in the middle will get smaller and smaller, smaller and smaller, until you can't hear it anymore. So you'll have to fight from fast to go slower. Then if you go slow, at some point you'll feel the hand that blocks. So we must try with patience to feel that gap between fast. Why I say that? Why should we have such a an important control of vibrato, because you cannot think to a vibrato if you don't know in which the tempo, the metronome of a movement. So a vibrato that is good for an adagio is not good for an allegro. A vibrato that is good for a single note, for a melody, is not good for a chord, and so on. Even in orchestra, if you play chords together with somebody, especially dissonances, you cannot really vibrate. I mean, if I vibrate on like, Peter, this is... Now I'm quoting the first movement of Arpeggione of Schubert. So at some point we got this arpeggio. We got F. Scusa. And you got an anticipation of the D chord. So at some point I stop the vibrato. So, you know, the dissonance will become extremely clear, and will eventually go, you know, it will resolve to the D. So that's an example. Another example could be the beginning of Elegia in D or Bottesini. No vibrato. Ecco. You see, I didn't make a real crescendo, but I gave a direction, I made a dynamic just with the use of vibrato. Because actually, in a way, it's natural in that piece there to give a direction towards the middle of the bar. But actually, no crescendo is written, so if you make a proper dynamic, it might be too much. It might not be what Bottesini wanted. So you see, vibrato can be also a way of giving an idea of direction. You see, I'm passing from slow to a little faster, then I go back to nearly nothing. Then... You see, I'm giving accents with vibrato. You see, this is an accent already. And many times, to go back to Bottesini, accents should be like this. In a gentle movement, in a slow movement, you can't give bow accent. Even in Mizek sonata, because it's full of vibrato accents. So that's a note, that's an accent with a vibrato. You see, you feel that there is something at the beginning. It's just how I modulate the vibrato. So we discovered that it goes with dynamic. It can help increasing dynamic or reducing dynamic. It doesn't work in dissonances. You know what I mean? So it means it should be, of course, if I make an allegro, you see, I got space to make vibrato, but it's not so much space than like in elegy. So I can't make this movement with, listen to this. I can't make a slow vibrato in a fast movement. There is no time. I mean, the number of up and downs of the tuning will not be enough to give you a feeling of vibrato. It just sounds detuned, you know. So in Bottesini finale, so you see, I'm more into this. Going even more in details, and I finish with this parenthesis about vibrato. Maybe that there is also instinctively, I mean, you could try and measure it as well. So look. This is a ya ta 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 ta. You see, supposing this is the tempo. Ecco. I'm vibrating at the speed of the demiquavers. Now I vibrate like triplet. We see it. That doesn't work. It would work in a slower movement. You see, these are triplets. Yeah, 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 yeah. But you see, if we are careful, we can also find a sort of articulation. How many sort of oscillations we can make in the vibrato to make it sound nice, and that's is like something you usually do instinctively. But you know, in some way, the symmetry is always welcome. It's like being on a very precise articulation of the vibrato too.